Got
All
a lot
right.
of colours in it.
That's a very good observation, Gwen. That's what I thought. There's some brilliant colours. It goes all the way from yellow here. And look at this green. I think we can make this green, not by using green, but by adding a really nice ultramarine blue to this yellow. So we're going to try and make this beautiful olive green by adding blue to the yellow that we're going to start off with the tips. But also I thought I imagine a lot of people are intimidated by the complexity of this, but it's not that complex really. It's just, you know, I always say, let's just start with the basic shapes. All we really need to look at here is the shape of this, and it's just a big wobbly kind of amoeba shape. So I just scribbled in an outline of this seaweed, and all we've got to do is, with our pencil, let's just wobble down something like this. How easy is that? It looks really straightforward. It doesn't have to be accurate. We don't have to copy it photographically. We've got cameras to do that. But let's just pick out that shape there. And let's just channel that line. Easy, absolutely easy to draw that line. And then we'll just take it from there and we'll draw it. Right, so open up your sketchbooks and let's get cracking. So I'm going to do this with a pencil. You can do it with a pen if you're feeling bold, but I'm just going to do this outline with this pencil. I've got my propelling pencil here. And then, as I said, we don't have to faithfully reproduce this very accurately. I don't think this is a very clear picture. I hope you've got it at home. But we don't have to study it intensely. We just have to get that shape down. So, oh, and one thing I want to point out as well, we want to hang on to, let me just nip back to this, it overlaps itself. Look how this shape, this line that we're so easily going to be able to draw disappears. These leaves disappear behind each other. And that's really quite important because that makes us see that it's three-dimensional. Look at the way that leaf, are they leaves? I don't know. That leaf overlaps that leaf, and that little bit overlaps that little bit. We want to try and achieve that, like I've suggested here. Look at the way that one overlaps that one, and that one's just starting to overlap that one. That makes a big impact on your drawing. That'll give your drawing depth and three-dimensionality. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Let's get cracking. Don't worry about doing this. Once you get started, you'll be fine. Now, what did I start off here? Let's have a look at this leaf here. All I'm going to do, look, is I'm just going to go off and I'm just going to take this little line for a walk. And I'm just going around like this. That leaf goes like that. Now, this bit here overlaps this bit here. So I'm going to take that bit round there like that. And then that bit comes down like that. And once you've got the hang of it, off you go. You can scoot off. You don't have to be accurate. I thought this was a nice shape as well. We've got the majority of the picture there, and then it comes down and it's all anchored onto this little stone here. So I'm here, look, I'm not following it too carefully, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to keep this line nice and wobbly because that's what the edge of the seaweed looks like. It comes down here, and I'm going to give it some little feet. Look at that. I'm going to make like a little claw-like root system to make it anchor onto this stone, and I'm just going to draw that stone in there like that. We'll make the stone stand out because we'll do it a different color. So look, there it is, it's hooked onto that stone with that little root system there, which I've made up a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to come back out with my lovely wobbly line. And I'm going to come along here, and I'm going to do this bottom half here. Little crinkle there. That comes down there like that. So my eye is following this, and my hand is kind of going along on its own steam. It's my eye that's going along here like this. Now I stop there because I can see that little bit overlapping there, you see? And if I put that little bit overlapping there like that, you immediately see that that leaf is in front of that leaf, which is quite important. Gives it a kind of body and a substance. All right, let's carry on here. Goes down here. There's another bit overlapping there as well. And it's already starting to look like my piece of seaweed, isn't it? He goes down there like that. That bit's coming around there like that. And once you get into the swing of things, you can really you can scoot along. Also got these little blobs, these bladders. We'll have a look at those later on. We can put those on in a bit. In some respects, the less you care about this line, the more realistic it is. So now I'm scooting around here now. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to come right here. There's a few coming out from behind it there. And you know what? Once you get the hang of this, you can almost make it up. You can make your own patterns and you can make your own leaves. He's coming down there like that. Coming down like that. There's a little negative space in here, look, just there. I'm just going to draw the hole in there. Can you see all I did there was that hole, but you can kind of imagine now that that has got a bit of depth. Where are we? Okay, so this is coming down there like that. And this one comes up. This last one comes up here. There's a 3-fingered thing on there. So what we got to look at, we're trying to give these lines rhythm. You know, rhythm just makes it feel as though this line's dancing along like a, you know, it's got rhythm like a little piece of music. It's got real movement. He's coming around there like that. I've left bits of this out, but you know, it doesn't matter. Okay. And so again here, look, that bit, so it looks like a really fat piece of leaf, but it isn't. There's a hole in it. So I need to put that hole in like that. And there we have him. He's just about done. I might leave it like that. I think he's good to go. Let's crack on and let's just put a few little frilly leaves down here. I think he's good to go. Now, I've got a bit of a gap here. I think I might invent. I'm going to invent a hole in here. So I'm going to put that in there to make that look like. There, that's better, isn't it? Let's paint. Let's get painting. Right, you know what I was saying? We've got some fabulous color here. Starts off yellow at the tips and it turns into this beautiful olivey green. So let's make a bit of yellow. Grab some tissue, grab some kitchen roll because I don't want to make this too wet. And I'm crinkling it up as well because I might dab at this to create a bit of texture. But meanwhile, let's get in here with this yellow. I've sprayed my paints first, so they're all nice and ready. Look at that beautiful yellow. Not a million miles away from that. It's a bit too yellow, but I'm not worried because I'm going to be adding more colors and more paints to this yellow. But let's start off. Let's have a look. Let's see what we can do. Go in there with that yellow. I'm just going to do these two tips and see where I can take it. I'm taking that yellow down there. I'm coming down there. I'm going to wash that brush. I am going to put a bit of green in there just to get the ball rolling. And I'm putting it in while it's still wet. So that green is mixing with that yellow and blending. Now you said, I think if we put a bit of blue with this, this is really going to take it down to this beautiful seaweed green. So let's try it. Let's see. That looks a bit blue. Can you see as well, I'm not putting it straight. I'm not just painting it all in while it's wet. I'm just dabbling it in. And then because it's still wet, it's going to mingle and it's going to mix. Might be a little bit blue that, so let's go back and just put a bit more yellow in. And it's nice and wet and juicy, so it's all going to mix together and do something nice. I'm going to show you a close-up of that in about 5 minutes when that's all blended together. That's going to look nice. There's also, this is also shiny. There's light bouncing off this. So I'm just going to try dabbing it, and that is just going to pull off a few bits of paint here and there and make it look more like this. So let me just show you quickly what I've got there. It won't be perfect, it's my first attempt, but already, see, we've got that lovely kind of seaweedy green color. I'm going to give that 2 minutes to mingle and blend, and that's going to do something lovely. Let's crack on. Let's crack on and get some. I think it's always a good idea to start with the yellow and then add the green and the blue to it. So a bit of yellow, coming with this green I've got, and while it's wet, put the wet paint on top of the wet paint, and it all runs together. And also I'm nipping back and I'm just revisiting that. I'm just plopping in bits of green here and there. So that's a bit green. Let's put a bit of that lovely blue in. Again, while it's still wet, so that the colours run together. Now, you know, I was talking about bits of this going behind other bits and creating that overlap that gives us depth. Well, we can accentuate that overlap by putting a little bit of a shadow down there. Let me just show you what I mean. Let's carry on. So for example, this bit here is going behind this bit here. Let me get some paint onto this first. This is the kind of subject matter where you can also do a bit of splatting as well. Look, just to splatter, I've just splat a little bit of paint on there, and it kind of activates the surface and it makes it look a little bit more interesting. Anyway, back to the overlap. You know, I was saying that bit's overlapping that bit. We kind of want to make the bit behind a bit darker because that bit on the top is throwing a shadow onto that bit underneath. And for example, here as well. And can you see, just putting a little shadow there and there makes that bit stand out. We wanted to darken that shadow even more. We can add a dark red to this because this is green and the complementary color to green is red. So if we add red to green, that's going to darken it. It's going to make a really nice neutral black. So look, just a little bit of red there. So if I, here and there, just put in a dab of red, look how dark that makes that. It's a bit harsh, that. So I'm just going to smooth that out. A little bit of red will also make this look a lot more interesting as well. So I'm just getting a bit of that. and I'm plopping it in here and there. Because it's still wet, that's going to soften out and that's going to look lovely. Anyway, you get the picture. Let's get throwing loads of paint at this and let's really crack on because we've got quite a lot to cover here. But let's keep working it. While this is still wet, we can just keep dropping in colour. You can put a bit more on the bits that I've already done. So again, start off with the yellow. Get that in. Do the tips in yellow because these end bits are much more yellow, much more paler than the rest of it. So look, I've done quite a few yellows there, and I'm bringing it down all the way down here. But now, while it's still wet, and that is important, while it's still wet, let's dive in with the green. Let's get some of this lovely green here. Because the yellow's wet, I'm going straight into here, and I'm just getting lovely green, strong green on my paintbrush. Look, straight into there, and straight onto there. And because it's already wet here, it kind of mixes itself on the page. So all this is still wet. Now I'm going to come in with that blue, bit of that lovely blue. And that blue really takes it down to that seaweedy green that we like. Really nice dark seaweed green. Now I'm getting into the swing of this and I'm working more quickly. It's working better because I'm working wet in wet. And that's always a good thing. It means that the paint is going to mix and mingle. So I can really crack on now. Now look at that lovely dark green. I may be dropping a little bit of that cheeky red just to make it even more interesting. Again, while it's still wet, so that all the colours blend together. Okay, that's that batch done. Let's move on. Let's get back into the swing of things. We're covering a lot of ground here quite quickly. There we go. So again, starting my extremities with yellow, and while I've got it on my brush, I'm just going to come back and spot in a few little other bits of yellow. Keep adding to this and making it more interesting. Going with the yellow. Got to work quickly because you don't want this to dry, because we want to put more colour on top of this yellow while it's wet. Oh, I tell you what, let's just splatter a few bit more. Splatter a little bit of yellow on there. So we've got some nice spots of colour. Straight in with the green while it's still wet. And then while that's still wet, let's go in with our lovely blue, which takes it right down and makes it that lovely, gorgeous seaweed colour. See, if I was putting this blue on top of a dry paint, it'd leave hard edges. It'd be, it wouldn't be as lovely and abstract. See, when the watercolours all mingle together like that, it makes it lovely and abstract. Just put in a few little dots in there, look. Just keeping it nice and interesting. Losing some of the edges a little bit, so I can always come back in with a pencil, or in this case my waterproof pencil, and just get those outlines back if I want to. It's not crucial. Or even make new outlines, you know. I can draw a new outline where the paint has run to. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's try and get all the way around. back into the yellow. Even when I'm not starting at the tips, I'm going in first with the yellow because it's the yellow that's kind of underneath everything else here. The yellow is the first thing, the first colour to put down. This yellow's got a bit murky, but it's quite nice. It's a kind of nice murky seaweedy yellow, isn't it? And with that bit of green. See down here, it's started to dry. So the marks that I make are hard edged. Okay. Now, what's going on here is I've been mixing and mixing and mixing, and I've kind of ended up, this is supposed to be blue, but look, it isn't blue anymore. It's gone this, I've been going backwards and forwards, and that's got yellow. Oh, sorry, that's turned a bit green. So I'm just going to wipe that away. Clean my brush. Make some fresh blue. I want the colours to be bright and mix on the paper. I don't want them to get, I don't want to be painting with one same colour all the way over. I want the colours to be doing different things on the paper. So I want to be dabbing in with blue, not with a murky green. Keep washing my brush. Let's go back and let's get a bit more of that red in there, because that bit of red just cheers it up. Because I think if you looked in here, there's all kinds of colours going on. There's even some lovely golds in there. I mean, I've got a bit of gold. I've got a bit of gold. Can I pull out a bit of something here? Look at that. There's definitely that colour in there, isn't there? So let's even just put a bit of that in. And also, you know, you want the values of this seaweed to wave in and out as well. You want some lighter areas in here. You know, I'm just.
Give us a quick close up, could you, Martin?
Yeah, of course I can. Hang on one sec. Yeah, you know, this little bit down here, I might keep this a little bit lighter because, you know, here and there are some light bits. So what I've got so far, it's a bit crazy, but look, it's starting to come together.
Beautiful.
Isn't that lovely? On these little splats, just activate it, makes it feel alive. So I know it's a little bit of a cliche to splatter onto your watercolors, but sometimes it does work. Sometimes it is quite invigorating. It's nice. So now I'm just dropping in. Look, I've gone into my green here, and I'm just dotting it. I'm dotting that paint all over, just putting little specks here and there. Because obviously, if you look closely at this, it's a riot of texture and detail. And the more detail and the more texture you can get into your painting, the more interesting it becomes. Hey, nearly there. Nearly made it. I actually rather like this gold. This is a more appropriate gold color for this seaweed than the yellow that I started using. So I might do a bit more of that. Look at that. That's a beautiful color for seaweed. So I'm now going back, and I'm just putting little spots of that here and there, and it works really well. Now, you see where it's already dried, and I put little spots down, they stay like spots. For example, here, if I come up here, that'd be a little bit extreme actually, so I'll just soften those. And where it's got a bit solid and a bit uninteresting, just dabbing a little bit. See, I'll just dab that. Let me try and show you a little bit more closely, see if I can do this. So see, it's got a bit solid. So I'm tempted to just do that. And look, suddenly it just brings it alive. Down here, it's got a bit uninteresting. Just pull a little bit off. Maybe here. You see, look at that. Suddenly gives it a bit of interest. It's nice. So don't, your tissue's just as useful a tool as your brush sometimes. Sidetracked here. While I'm chatting away, my paint's drying and I'm losing that ability to do wet in wet. So let's come back in here and quickly get some stuff going on in here. Where am I? Okay, coming up to here now. Let's just get that in. And you see, isn't it nice with the variety of color as well? All these different colors dancing around. The more interesting, the more colors you can get in there, the more interesting your painting is going to be, because, it's watercolor. Let's get this blue going in here. I want to get these, earlier I was talking about the little shadows where they disappear, where leaves disappear behind themselves. Just going to try and put a few of those back in. They might have got lost in the chaos. Quite like the fact I've got a little pale patch down here. That's rather nice. I don't want to lose him, I don't think, because it just makes it move in and out and over and under. It's kind of nice like that. I might leave him like that. Let's just get these. Now, I've got a pebble here. How do I make the pebble look like it's not part of the seaweed? I'm going to have to give him a different color, because I don't want that to get lost. So let's have, how about a nice kind of red, let's think. Not brown, not green, certainly. Not yellow either, because, I don't want him to look too similar to what's going on here. Let's have a look. What can we do? The blue pebble, you don't see many of those. That's not really going to work. How about, what we do know is the light's coming down here. Look, this side is lighter than this side. So, how about the funky purple? Purple, yeah. Oh, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just give it a bit of that. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of drawing the shadow. I'm just drawing the shadow areas of this pebble like that. Okay, so that pebble is a bit purple. You know what the complementary color to purple is? It's yellow. Yellow is opposite the purple on the color wheel. So if I added a bit of yellow, that would neutralize that. Now I want to give it texture as well. So look, I'm just kind of, look at that. Look at that. I mean, that is so lovely. Look what that little blob of yellow added to that purple has gone and done. Isn't that lovely? I want to give it a bit more texture. Actually, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to put a few spots in there to make it more stone-like. Oh, I might even give him a little shadow. Let's look for it. That's enough for that. I think we're nearly there. What else can we do to this to make it even more exciting? I'm going to come in and I'm going to just do a little, where this has started to dry, I can now paint over the top and it will make hard-edged lines. I'm just going to come in and maybe got my water-soluble pencil here. And where I've lost some of these edges, where they've got a bit big, I'm just going to put them back like that. And maybe here. And I could just make these lines a bit more interesting as well. This little fella here, he's got a bit lost, so I can make him stand out by doing that. This is a bit blunt, this pencil, but never mind. And I'm actually, what I'm doing here is I'm just going along the underside. Because I think it might, well, actually, this is not right, actually, because the light's coming from here. I should just be going down the kind of right side where the shadows should be. The left side is, of course, being lit by the light. So if there is going to be a darker edge to this seaweed, it'll be on this side, won't it? Away from the light. So maybe I could just accentuate some of those edges down there. And try and make the line a bit more interesting as well. Give it a bit of an extra wiggle. Give it a wiggle. There we go. I think we've got the colours nice. The colours look lovely. I mean, this is maybe needing a little bit more. This is still wet here, so I can just drop in a bit of interesting colour. A few dots. Let's see, what have we got? And if I think they're looking a little bit mechanical, just give it a dab. So I think I'm quite happy with that. It's a nice, interesting collection of textures and colours. Yeah, let's call him finished, shall we? Been a nice exercise. And of course, it all began with that lovely line, you know, a lovely kind of wiggly wobbly line that, to be perfectly honest with you, I made up half the time. What I've forgotten to make these bladders. You know, there are these little bubbles here and there. Let's see if we can put one in. And the way we do that, you know, if you look at, where can we find a good one? There, for example, can you see they're kind of little blisters? What about those? So if I wanted to do one of those, I imagine I need a highlight and I need a shadow. See, the highlight's there and the shadow's down that side. So if I were to try, I don't know if this is going to work, I'd just I'd get my brush and I'd wet it and I'd just rub away like that. I hope to really be doing this when the paint's dry, but if I just kind of did that and wash and dab and lift, I can lift off. That might be a good idea to actually draw in where it is I'm going to try and put this little bladder. You can't look. This paint, I'm doing this too quickly because the paper's still wet. And even just drawing on it like that, I've ripped it up and made a hole in it. But I'd pull off the paint with a wet brush like that. And then I just get a little bit of dark green or whatever, or blue. And I'd put the shadow in that side. It's not that clear because I did it, as I say, while the paper was still wet. Maybe we'll do that another time. That'll be another class, that will. It's not very clear. Yeah, do that when it's dry. Lift a bit off for a highlight, put a bit of shadow in. When it's dry, glazed over the top. But there we have it. There's our little seaweed for today. Our little seaweed clinging onto a rock. And that's...
Lovely.
Do you like it? It's not
Yeah,
bad, is
I love
it?
it. I love all the different colours.
I love the different colours. That gold was a nice discovery. Should have brought that in earlier, but nevertheless, paler at the tips, and then the paint doing its thing and becoming a thing of beauty, as is the nature of watercolour. Ah. Yeah. Okay, everybody. That's it, you lot. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for being here. And I will, I'll see you all, fingers crossed, next week for another fun-packed instalment.
That's great. Thanks.
Hey, Martin.
All right,
Bye,
everybody.
Martin.
You have a great
Bye.
day. See you next
Bye.
week, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.